Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musing, broadcasting live from Apple Valley. I'm Steve.
I'm Scott.
Thank you for joining us today. As you can see, we're going to be talking about the ancient Bristlecone Pines, specifically near Bishop. These things are the oldest living organisms in the world. Scott, have you seen these with your own eyes before?
You know, I have never been up there. I would love to. I've been through Owens Valley countless times over the last 60 years, and I've never gone over there, but I would love to. I mean, I think this is really cool stuff. So it's so cool where I go.
We're showing you the website here for Bishop, the city of Bishop Visitor Center, Bishop, California. And if you look at that little thing that looks like a cell phone and it says virtual tour, you click on that. I tell you what, if you want to have a neat little innovative virtual date with your wife, just get in front of the computer and walk through this, and it'll take you the different routes that you can hike and the beautiful trees, the pictures. It's a neat little 30-minute date you could do with your wife just online, just going through this. These trees are stunning and beautiful. Okay.
And the oldest trees.
They what?
They're the oldest trees we got.
Yeah. The oldest living. Okay. The Great Basin Bristlecone Pines are the oldest living non-clonal organisms on the planet. The oldest known living tree, Methuselah, has a verified age of almost 5,000 years old. So I'm wondering, how did these trees survive the flood? I mean, that's salt water, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. But
maybe the seeds were planted, right after the flood. I don't know. They are gnarled, weather-beaten, and resilient, and live high on a cold, windswept mountaintop above Bishop, California. Standing as ancient sentinels high atop the White Mountains of the Inyo National Forest, the Great Basin Bristlecone Pines rank as the oldest trees in the world and have achieved immense scientific, cultural, and scenic importance. Would you like to know more?
Yeah, so these trees, Pinus longeva, are found in the mountains of eastern California, scattered throughout the high mountain regions of Nevada and to a lesser extent Utah. A cousin, the Rocky Mountain bristlecone pine, Pinus aristata, is located throughout the eastern Rocky Mountain region in Colorado and New Mexico. An isolated population of the Colorado version, the P. aristata, is also located near Flagstaff, Arizona. A third member of the bristlecone pine family, the Sierra foxtail pine, Pinus balfouriana, is located in the southern Sierra range and in isolated groves in northern California. So yeah, if you've ever been up 395, the 395 corridor up through the Owens Valley.
Yeah, on the Sierras, other side of the Sierras.
Yeah, so between Big Pine and there's a couple of roads that head over that way.
Big Pine, there's a direct road to get to the Bristlecone
Correct.
Pines.
Yeah. And they've got some pictures there of the trees. I mean, they almost look like a juniper type tree, I guess, but just like that, the name states that name that they've got for it, Methuselah. That was because of that. That was the lady with all the snakes coming out of her head. So yeah, there's pictures of it right there. So kind of a juniper looking tree, but
I think Scott, you're confusing Methuselah with Medusa. Methuselah was the oldest living man.
There you go. Sorry.
He's like the grandson of Adam.
Oh, okay. Well, Medusa. So yeah, Methuselah. So maybe, what, do they nickname that because of the age, maybe?
Yeah. Originally classified as foxtail pine because of the needle arrangement, like a cat or fox's tail, these trees were redesignated in the late 1800s and named bristlecone due to the long, prickly bristle on the immature cone. In 1963, Dr. Dana K. Bailey determined that there were significant genetic and physical differences between the bristlecones in the Great Basin and those in the Rocky Mountains. His research efforts resulted in another redesignation into two separate species named bristlecone, the Rocky Mountain bristlecone and the Great Basin bristlecone pine.
Yeah, so this is kind of cool because of these just certain areas that they're in, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the redwoods and the sequoias. They're pretty much only in coastal areas in California, and I think maybe even up Oregon. I don't know, but
Yeah.
and then they've got the giant sequoias down in Sequoia National Park, which is down kind of the southern end of the Sierra. So, yeah, this is pretty cool stuff. So in the White Mountains, which is again the range, if you're going up 395, it's the mountain range that's just to the east of the High Sierra Range that borders the other side of the Owens Valley. So the ancient bristlecone pines seem to show a preference for growing on the white, rocky soil that gives the name to its mountain range. This is dolomite, a type of limestone created under the warm, shallow inland sea that once covered this area. This dolomite is very alkali in soil chemistry and thus makes for challenging growing conditions, precisely why the oldest trees are found here. The bristlecone pines don't actually prefer this soil type. Other plant species have a very difficult time growing in it, and the bristlecones, because they have adapted to this high alkalinity, have a chance to get established and grow in a near competition-free environment. In other areas, such as the Great Basin National Park, bristlecones have established themselves on soil that are equally inhospitable to all but the most hardy of survivors.
So these are some pretty interesting pictures we have on the screen. The one on the right says, "Hey, stay on the path, save our trees," right? And it looks like there's like someone sleeping at the bottom of the tree, but that's part of its root. It's the tree structure. And then you can see the other, they do look bristly. These ancient trees, crazy, man. These trees are crazy old.
Yeah. And pretty close. I mean, if you live in the Southern California area or Northern California area, it's not that far of a drive to visit there.
Yeah. I was doing work in Big Pine, and I was staying at a campsite right there at the crossroad of 395 and the road to get over there. And I'd see the sign all the time, and I never, because I was just busy on that job, I'd stay during the week, and then I'd rush home, Thursday or Friday to get home for the weekend. I'd never go up there.
Right.
Every year, trees produce a new layer of wood just under the bark. During a dormant period or time of slower growth, a narrow band of dark wood is produced, which, when added to the lighter colored summer growth, produces what we see as a distinguishable tree ring. In wet years, the width of this layer of new wood is usually wider than in years of drought. The bristlecone pines are known as great recorders of these climatic variances due to their high sensitivity to changes in annual precipitation. Scientists who study and research tree ring patterns are known as dendrochronologists. They are called dendroclimatologists if they specialize in climate research through tree ring records.
Fascinating.
Never knew that.
Didn't either, yeah. Researchers use a device called an increment borer to extract a small cross-section of a tree. This sample provides a look at each tree ring, determine both the age of the tree and the pattern of its growth. There are many trees in the bristlecone pine forest of the White Mountains that exceed 4,000 years of age.
That's old.
Are still growing. Yeah, that's way old. Recent research indicates that there is a living tree older than 5,000 years. Bristlecone pine wood that has fallen to the ground can remain intact for thousands of years in the cold, dry climate of the White Mountains. Using a cross-dating technique that overlaps tree ring patterns of living trees with the still intact patterns of dead wood, scientists have assembled a continuous tree ring chronology extending nearly 10,000 years. This bristlecone pine chronology, developed here in the White Mountains by the University of Arizona researchers and Dr. Henry Michael of the University of Pennsylvania, is the longest in the world and provides an unequaled look into past climatic and environmental conditions. So that's pretty fascinating.
So, not to be a greedy person, but I wonder how much a chess set made from this bristlecone cone would go for. Probably be up there.
Yeah.
Find some wood on the ground.
Could be. Yeah.
So,
I think they're pretty protective of this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think you're probably not going to go up there and see park rangers on every corner. but
Yeah.
they're pretty protective of these trees.
Yeah. Plus, you'd have to put it on the black market. If you advertise it, you'd have people descending on your house right away. Okay, for many years now, scientists, archaeologists, and historians have relied on a dating system known as radiocarbon dating. You've probably heard of that, Scott, right?
Sure.
Carbon dating. It was discovered back in the 60s, 1960s, that this process was flawed and needed to be calibrated. The wood from bristlecone pines helped correct this process by providing samples that could be precisely dated. Scientists dated these samples by counting their growth rings. They then measured the amount of carbon 14, C14, in those same samples. They discovered that the radiocarbon dating process was providing dates that were too young and established a calibration factor to correct the dating process. Faulty C14 data obtained before the bristlecone pine calibration was then re-examined and corrected. Archaeologists found that some artifacts discovered in Europe were actually 1,000 years or older than previously thought. This revision of archaeological site dates led historians to a reinterpretation of cultural diffusion throughout the Mediterranean and European areas. Because the bristlecone pines in Bishop, California grove provided the wood to recalibrate the radiocarbon dating method, they have become known as the trees that rewrote history.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things about the White Mountain Range being within miles of the High Sierra Range, the Eastern High Sierra Range, is the water content. So there's virtually no water up there other than just snowmelt and rain. There's no,
you mean surface water, right?
No lakes or rivers that I'm aware.
Way up high, there's lakes with good trout fishing too.
In the Whites, I don't know.
Well, no, the White Mountains, no.
Yeah, so it's interesting that these trees. I mean, because again, you go to the west and you're in
the west, yeah,
the Eastern Sierra, and even across the divide to the western slope, which is covered with tons of trees and water everywhere, and like you say, great trout fishing, and it's like two different worlds. But then these trees, for whatever reason, are not, well, I don't want to say thriving, but I guess they are thriving. They've been
thriving. They made it.
Yeah, and they're in a pretty arid environment. I mean, there's just no water there, so it's fascinating to me. But
yeah, and you can see if you get a chance to go out here, folks. If you camp out here, I mean, the astronomy is breathtaking. You can see the Milky Way here behind this bristlecone right here, pine. It's just amazing. Naked eye, you can see the Milky Way. It's pretty cool.
It's funny because some of the elevation of course, we know in the Eastern Sierra, there's Mount Whitney, which is like 14,000, almost 500 feet, tallest mountain in continental United States. There are people that have said that there's peaks in the Whites that approach that. I don't know. I mean, I've seen 10,000 plus elevation in the Whites, but there are some people that argue that there are mountains that are closer to that. Like, I don't know, but it's still arid. Again, no lake water, which is just amazing that these things are surviving. So pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, thanks, folks, for joining us this afternoon. Catch us tomorrow morning. We've got an interesting segment tomorrow morning. We'll talk to you later.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.